What's up, my friends? It is the Doctor, Dr. Remy LeBeau, in the X-Lair, bringing you the cure to all your extreme ailments and illnesses associated with your lack of exposure to awesome X-Men statues. Today's cure is this very special piece, which some of you are very familiar with because it's too superb to not have in a collection if you're already a collector. And if you're not familiar with, you're about to fall in love. You're about to fall in love. Even if you don't believe in true love or love at first sight, you're about to you're about to question your beliefs. So this is the very amazing and spectacular Apocalypse statue produced by Bowen Designs. It was sculpted by the Kucherek brothers, the amazing brothers that often do work for Bowen Designs that create just amazing statues. Um, it was created in 2007, so that's like 6 years ago now. This is number 55 of 2,000, so there are 2,000s of these in existence. So it's they're not that rare, but they're rare enough that if people want this statue, um, it's not necessarily going to eventually be easy to find. Right now, I think it is. Like, you can still find it on eBay. People put it up. I forget how much it goes for. Maybe like like in the 300 range, somewhere in the radius of 300, within like maybe 20 or to $50, give or take. Um, it's definitely a statue that people want because you can see it's pretty much flawless as far as what you would want an Apocalypse statue to be. I mean, this is Apocalypse in all his freaking glory. And you can see from you can see from this video, but in the photos that I posted on my blog as well, like on the close-ups of all the elements, it's like everything about him is like perfect. He's got like this metallic paint that just kind of makes everything just jump out even more, but it didn't even need to have that because the character itself is just a really impressive design, and the statue that represents that character is going to be impressive no matter what if it's done right. And just all the extra sort of bells and whistles that were included in the statue just amplify the impressive quality of it even more. Now let's talk about the character before we get into the statue. So this is the first appearance of Mr. Apocalypse here. This is X Factor number 6, X Factor Volume 1, number 6. And now Apocalypse. This is actually 1986. So that was what, like 27 years ago already. Wow. 27 years. So N7 is 27 years ago old as far as comics go. But as far as like the actual Marvel Universe continuity, he's a lot older than that. He goes back to like ancient times. He was revered as like a god by the Egyptians. He's got the ability to rejuvenate himself via this Lazarus chamber that was featured prominently in the X-Men cartoon in the 90s, in which I guess he goes into this chamber to slumber for extended periods of time, after having sort of, been in the world and kind of rain, kind of did terrible things for a while. He would like get exhausted, I guess, because, being immortal can get exhausting, I would imagine. I'm not immortal myself. I know it's surprising. I'm not immortal. I can imagine that being kind of exhausting. So the guy does need to rejuvenate every now and then. He's an ultimate baddie, as was revealed recently in several stories, including Uncanny X-Force and some of the Age of Apocalypse stuff recently. Like the power of that Apocalypse has that he wielded before his death. And by the way, he's actually spoiler alert. Actually, a spoiler that's a few years old alert. Apocalypse is dead in the Marvel continuity now, but all sorts of crazy things have happened since his death, associated with him, associated with characters associated with the character, and and offsprings uh, related to the power source that was at his core while he lived. Rest in peace, En Sabanur. Even though I'm sure he'll be back. I mean, you can't leave a character like this dead forever. For God's sake, he's one of the core X-Men villains. Um, but so he's got like this thing called the Death Seed, which was given to him by the Celestials, these like omnipotent uh, celestial entities that kind of like govern like the physical laws of the universe. I don't know this story behind them completely well. Maybe I should do a little more reading on them. But they they decided, and this is my impression of why he exists and why he was given the power. They decided, the Celestials, that they needed to have a representative on Earth that would for mutants, that would sort of guide mutants to be the dominant species on the planet. And they gave him this thing called the Death Seed, which I guess is the source of his power, that kind of, you know, it kind of amplifies, his mutant abilities, and maybe makes him more powerful than he actually was intended to be based on his biological makeup. And I think and this Death Seed has just obviously been at the core of not only his reign of terror, but like the subsequent reign of terrors of I'm sure you guys have read the Dark Angel saga, and like everything that happened with Archangel, and how he became kind of like, Apocalypse's like the new Apocalypse. And then in the Age of Apocalypse universe, there was this whole story that was actually related to that Dark Angel saga, in which the characters of Uncanny X-Force went into the Age of Apocalypse, and they discovered that in that realm where the Apocalypse in that realm had been killed, like the Apocalypse Seed had been taken on by Wolverine, and Wolverine had become Weapon Omega, which was essentially the new Apocalypse. And so essentially this Death Seed has become like a very prominent sort of source of a lot of the crazy stories that have occurred in the comics in the last few years. And it's all because this guy's dead. And actually, currently right now in the Uncanny Avengers, there's like a big story going on with so this, in the very last issue that I've read, I think it was number 5 or 6. One of the Celestials was killed, which I guess has never happened before, and so this is like a big event. But one of the Celestials was giving a new Death Seed to somebody else, which I think it's Apocalypse's son, and it's not Holocaust. I think it is Holocaust, actually, or like Holocaust is the name of the character in the Age of Apocalypse universe, and now that there's a version of him in the regular Marvel universe, Earth 616, I think he's called Genocide. I think that's what they called him, and the Celestials are giving him a new Death Seed to sort of elevate him to to be the new Apocalypse. And there's like this whole war amongst these other Apocalypse twins that I guess were cloned of him or something, that are and they're the ones that killed the Celestial, and they're like trying to stop Genocide from becoming the new Apocalypse. And there's like this interesting sort of story unfolding there. Although Apocalypse is dead, again, like this whole sort of the whole origin story of Apocalypse is really kind of blossomed in a retcon kind of way. Like there's been a lot of retconning going on, and which is retroactive continuity, going back to a continuity that we thought we understood, and kind of changing that continuity. A lot of that's going on right now, and that's driving a lot of stories that are actually interesting. I like them. I'm not going to be critical of all this is happening. Like, I think it's like a really cool thing. And Mr. N. Sabanur here is at the heart of it, of course, because look how awesome he is as just a character. Like, of course you're going to have something like this that looks like this wind up being like a super important element in the Marvel universe, in the X-Men universe, as an ex-villain, as a driving force of a lot of stories. And once he dies, of course that's going to lead to a lot of interesting stories that are going to be related to him, and maybe ways of trying to either bring him back to life, or as they're doing, have others take on the mantle of his power, and what he symbolizes, and reigning terror in the way that only En Sabah Nur can. I keep saying En Sabah Nur because that was revealed to be his actual name, and I think it's a name that he had. It was given by the Egyptians when he was kind of revered as a god in that time. And you can see. So let's talk about the statue. It's so impressive. Like, probably one of the most impressive elements of the statue, and maybe one of the most impressive bases ever produced, is the base. It's kind of like this Egyptian ruins sort of like platform, and like each of the individual sort of small pillars have like these hieroglyphics on them, which are very cool. And you can see like on all the steps, like they're crumbling, so there's like little crumbles of like the stairs. Obviously this is like an old like ancient kind of a structure that probably houses like some old base of his, or maybe was like a temple to him in ancient times. Just reflecting like the history of the character in the Marvel universe, which is very cool. So the base itself could actually just be like, if somebody was like just collecting sort of ancient like Egyptian like artifact type of things that are produced, like the base itself could just be part of some collection of that sort, because it's that impressive, and there was so much attention put into it. Kudos to the Kucherek brothers and Bowen Designs for actually putting in thought and time and love into the base itself. Like, mwah, superb base. And then of course Apocalypse himself. I mean, my goodness, like the sculpt is just flawless. Like, dimensions are out of this world. He's like a super tall character. I don't have another statue like on hand, like a regular Bowen statue, to sort of give you guys like a scale. I was trying to find a ruler, but no, don't have a ruler. But the guy's tall, like he's big. And actually somebody asked me to compare him to Archangel. I have to do that. At some point soon I'll be doing that. I'll take a comparison photo of him and Archangel together. But he actually works really well in an Archangel and Apocalypse display. So the boots, sculpted super nice, and the boots are the same color as like the granny panties that he's wearing, and some of these kind of like kind of metallic, or like just sort of, yeah, kind of like techno elements that he has on his outfit. Like up here, this part here, and like these sort of these weird like armband things, and here. So like there's only like two colors used on his costume, which is that color and the color and the kind of the light blue metallic color on the like light blue elements. So it's really nicely done. It's like elegant, it's organized, it's not too busy, it's really nice. So you have like these tubes in the back coming out of the back into his arms, which were done really nicely as well. A lot of attention put into those as well, and nothing was rushed, nothing was ignored. Everything was given like the proper amount of attention. One of these hands comes off. This hand comes off. Oh no, Apocalypse's hand is missing. And actually there's a gun hand, like this really elaborate gun hand that goes in there. I tried to find it, but as all statue collectors know, we have to, not only do we have these statues, but we have to keep the boxes. Like, if you want to maintain the value of these statues, and if you want to at some point in the future maybe sell some of them if you need to, or don't want them anymore and want to get rid of them, you need to sell them with the original box, and the original box needs to be in good condition. So I've got them all like in storage, and so it's just really hard to kind of dig out a particular box. And in that box is like the replacement hand that has like this really intricate kind of gun that he could actually morph into his hand into. So there's that extra element, kind of like a switch out hand, which just adds to the impressive quality of this statue. I'll try to find a photo of it and post it on my blog, in order to give you guys an idea of what more you can have beyond just like what you're already seeing, which is impressive. The A on his belt and the belt done superbly, and everything on his upper body just great, flawless, beautiful, impressive, like super, um, super like larger than life presence with lots of detail and precision. And of course, there's the face of Mr. Ensabanur. Love it. Everything done flawlessly. All the features are beautiful. He just looks so menacing. And then you've got the kind of like the silver face, which is awesome. And then the head stripe, the silver head stripe that goes all the way to the back, done very nicely as well. I can't say enough good things about this statue. Um, Bowen Designs has done an incredible job with all the X villains. Like every X villain that they release is just great. They put so much attention into it. It's amazing. Um, Mr. Sinister, Juggernaut, the new Magneto, the old Magneto, great. Dark Phoenix, um, Mystique, which I'll be featuring at some point soon, and this really impressive Mojo statue that's been sneaked online. We haven't seen a full reveal yet. The Kuchereg brothers, who sculpted this prize, are also sculpting that one. That one is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for that statue. Again, it's going to be another impressive X-Men villain statue. X-Men villains, like nobody else gives attention to the X-Men villains, and so the fact that Bone Designs is willing to do it, but not just willing to do it in a simple way, but it just like a magnificent way. It's such a treat for us, and I am so appreciative to them as a fan, as an X fan, that they would put in so much attention into producing these statues and doing so much more than is necessary. I mean, you could have had just Apocalypse on like a simple kind of like flat platform and it would have been fine, but look at this amazing base. It's just, the whole thing is just beautiful and awesome and spectacular, and Apocalypse, the Apocalypse that was introduced so many years ago now, and deserves so much love and attention from us X fans. As far as like representations of the character beyond just just the comics and in this beautiful statue, he got an amazing treatment done in the X-Men cartoon of the 90s. Like the voice actor that did him was just impeccable. Like, it's just you have a two-dimensional character in a comic book, and when you're creating like kind of like a moving, like a media representation, whether it be in film or in cartoons, like like the sky's the limit as far as what could be done, and you could easily screw it up. You can do something cheesy and crappy and it could just come out terrible. But with this guy, that the actor that played him was incredible. He was just great, and like he made him just so believable, and I really appreciate. I love those episodes where he's in them, because he brought Apocalypse to life in a way that made him just like menacing and believable, and captured everything about him that sort of defines him to be one of the big baddies of the X-verse. He is so it's possible, and I don't know exactly what the situation is. This is all speculation, but it's very possible that Apocalypse is going to be the villain in X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm hoping that's the case. Of course, that might be hoping too much, but if it is the case, we have Bryan Singer at the helm of that, and I have a feeling that he would do a good job. But I hope that he also hires the same voice actor from the X-Men cartoon to voice Apocalypse in the film, because that would be spectacular. And Mr. Singer, if you ever happen to see this, which you probably won't, but if you ever happen to see this, if you don't have Apocalypse in X-Men Days of Future Past, please feature him as the villain in a subsequent X-Men film. Please, like, he deserves some cinematic time, like just like Thanos is being sort of developed and built up in the Avengers movies, like, and they're doing a really great job of that. I think the same could be done for Apocalypse, and he just requires that extra special attention from like a fanboy type of skillful technician of like filmmaking to make him just become like a legendary cinematic villain as well. I think he has the potential for that, and you know, take advantage of that, Mr. Singer, please, please take advantage of that. Anyway, actually, one other cool thing was in the X-Men Evolution cartoon, which was the cartoon that came out after the X-Men film. Actually, I think after X-Men 1 came out in late 90s, early 2000s, in which, like, you know, the cartoon was set in a world where you know, certain X-Men were younger than they are in the comics. Like Rogue was young. It kind of reflected the same kind of setup as the films. In that cartoon, even though that cartoon wasn't great, they did an amazing job of introducing Apocalypse in season 3 towards the end, like, and then finally having him emerge at the end, and then he was like the big baddie in the final season, which is season 4. And that season, aside from a few crappy episodes, was fantastic, and it was all because they had Apocalypse in there in a way that was completely different from the X-Men, the 90s cartoon, but still impressive. And actually, you know what, now thinking about it, Wolverine and the X-Men, the cartoon series that was produced maybe like 3 years ago, which was so awesome, but for some reason Marvel didn't continue it. He was also introduced in that as well, and I might be wrong about that, actually. I think I might be thinking about the Ultimate Universe. And in the Ultimate Universe, which I actually read the whole run of like last year or something, he was introduced in there in a very unique way as well. Yes, yes. So actually, there's just a lot. I guess every time he's been introduced in sort of a different medium or like a different sort of continuity, like, he's always cool and impressive. Like, and that just again is a testament to how impressive this character is. If it wasn't for the 90s cartoon, though, I don't think he would have become sort of the prominent, important villain that he is in the X-Men universe. So thank you, 90s X-Men cartoon. Beyond just being entertaining, you did a lot for sort of expanding the importance of the X-Men and a lot of the X-Men villains, which were kind of just like, you know, just second-rate Marvel villains before all that happened. Mr. Sinister being another one. Anyway, again, let me give him one last twirl so you can see how awesome and amazing he is. Look at this guy. He is just so freaking cool. If you have a chance to get him, get him. There are 2,000 of these, so you should be able to get them if you want them. And again, as always, thank you for checking out this video. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. And check out my blog. I've got more like photos of him on there and other stuff you can check out. My blog is X-Men Statues of Future Past.blogspot.com. My YouTube channel is Dr. Remy LeBeau. Unofficially is Dr. Remy LeBeau's Xler. What's up, Xler? And that pretty much does it. As always, X in the box because ain't nobody checking me. And I hope you guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.